Hello, One Piece enthusiasts. I'm the One Piece nerd, and today let's talk about Im-sama's origins and the powers of the world government. So, as of chapter 1060, we've been dropped a bombshell that Im-sama, and specifically the world government, have the power to destroy islands at command. Now, this is definitely not the case, like, they can use it frequently, but they do possess such power, and let's talk about it. But first, I've also been able to drop conclusions as to Im-sama's origins. Again, I could be wrong, but this is by far the best evidence I've found so far. So let's continue. But before that, I want to talk about the weapon first. Because my initial impression when I was reviewing the chapter, I said that it's Im-sama's devil fruit and it cannot be a weapon. I didn't want to accept the fact that the world government had Uranus, and it would almost seemingly be sort of impossible to judge since we have no idea where it is. And I also thought that, an overfruit devil fruit power for the final villain of the One Piece saga, final villain of the last arc, hell yeah, I would love it. But it seems a little bit too impractical if you ask me. First things first, power is way too overpowered. Yes, Blackbeard has two of the by far the strongest devil fruits. It is overpowered, it is hacked, but this power is even more hacked. With it might having drawbacks, I thought it does. The same way that King Punch did, where the king had to warm up for, I think, 100 minutes or 100 punches or whatever. I thought there has to be some sort of a repercussion for Im-sama to use the power, but that seemed a little bit too inconclusive of me. I didn't have enough evidence to suggest it, and it would not seem unlikely that the world government don't possess an ancient weapon. Because if you think about it, if you give Luffy all three ancient weapons alongside him being Joy Boy, that makes the conquest of becoming Pirate King very easy. And a devil fruit power that can go up to such an extent, Im-sama was nowhere near Lelouchia Kingdom when the kingdom was destroyed. So for a devil fruit power to have that much reach, it would be seemingly impossible. So yeah, I have to agree with most of the fandom that it could be Uranus. It could be something very different. But for now, it's safe to say that it's Uranus. I don't think Oda would introduce something so different, something so major at the end of the story, just for it to be not Uranus and then introduce Uranus some other time. Moving on from that point onwards, it also suggests that Doflamingo, whatever Doflamingo said about having the national treasure. He wanted the national treasure by obtaining Laws Ope Opinomi that was in Marijoa. He wanted the national treasure. And immediately, when we go back to Reverie, Doflamingo mentions the national treasure and an assassin coming after him because he knows a lot about the inside world. We see the giant Straw Hat and Im-sama. And from what I can conclude, the ancient weapons definitely have a mind of their own. They have a mind of their own, and I think they definitely were meant to follow Joy Boy. And Joy Boy had some sort of a straw hat that resembles Luffy's straw hat somehow. And for Im-sama to have that straw hat, the giant straw hat, and for that to be an activation for Uranus, makes a lot of sense. Because everything happened at the same time, it seems unlikely that it is. We see Doflamingo mention the national treasure, spilling the beans, assassin coming after him. Then we see Im-sama looking at the giant straw hat, and then the Gorosei talked about the Great Cleansing, and finally, we do see the Great Cleansing through Uranus, and that makes a lot of sense, because what I believe is that the Ancient Kingdom created the ancient weapons in order to go up against the world government, but Im-sama somehow got a hold of one of the powers, which is not unlikely. With that being said, we also have further evidence to suggest that there is something up in the sky, as mentioned by Hawkins. When you remember that Apu, Hawkins, and Kid were talking about their alliance, and when Kaido was about to drop from the ground, Hawkins did say something about some sort of a weapon living up in the sky, some sort of a creature living up in the sky. and creature, weapon. Poseidon was a mermaid, so Uranus could be anything, like, to be honest. And with that evidence, it's likely suggesting that there is something up in the sky. It could be Uranus, but there is definitely something up in the sky that is in possession of the world government. Moving on. Now, let's talk about the origin. So Uranus is a weapon that we thought, it was just mentioned, and we thought it was up in the moon. It was in the moon, or it was in the sky. Enel was going after it. So I started drawing up conclusions because the reference to sun and moon being a pivotal part of One Piece is not ignorable. You cannot ignore the fact that the moon is a very important part of the One Piece puzzle, and it plays a very important role playing the opposite side of the sun. Now, we can call Blackbeard the moon, but he is darkness. He is darkness, Luffy is fire. That's the same way Ace and Blackbeard played out. But ultimately what comes down is the moon going down and the sun coming up, and Luffy being the sun god, and Im-sama having some sort of an importance to the moon, quite literally the moon, makes a lot of sense. If you remember Kaguya-sama from Naruto, and it came from a Japanese novel called Tale of a Bamboo Cutter. If you go back and read it, or at least see the synopsis, it's basically that Princess Kaguya comes down from the moon into a bamboo, and then 5 elders, or 5 leaders of the world of that time, become suitors to Kaguya-sama because of, how beautiful she was, and basically her powers being an alien. She had unique powers, and the Gorosei, or the 5 elder, or the 5 stars, wanted to follow her. It's the same way that the Gorosei are following Im-sama, and it makes a lot of sense. And for Im-sama to have some sort of a connection with the weapon from the sky, and her being from the moon, I think everything adds up. The opposite sun being the moon, opposite of freedom being unjust and corrupt and controlling. Im-sama and Luffy are basically the opposites of each other, and I wouldn't be surprised if her origins was definitely from the moon, and we definitely know that there are people up in the moon. We've seen Enel basically counter creatures from the moon, but we haven't got much of an elaboration from it. We can see Enel come back, but not the point. To further elaborate, it seems very unlikely that Oda would take something so literal to heart and make it into One Piece, but we've definitely seen it happen time and time again. Even if it is not a reference to Kaguya-sama, even if she wasn't literally from the moon, we know that the Lunarians existed in the Red Line, but they were somehow brought down by the world government. It is also possible that Im-sama herself was from the moon, was from the Lunarians, and she betrayed her clan, or something of that sort, that made her want to basically enslave every single human, every single sort of, what you might call, Lunarians to be under her power. Now, this could be a little bit baseless. I might not have enough information, but I think it's very important to understand that her origins can definitely be from the moon, and Oda takes reference from the novel that I've talked about, and it is definitely significant. I think that's almost what I could draw up for now. That's all I wanted to say, because we don't have anything much, but for me to have come up with this sort of a conclusion, I think, this might be pivotal, and I think this is very important. This can come into fruition. If it doesn't, it's more theories fail down the road. But I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Put down your thoughts in the comments below. If you guys have other suggestions as to Im-sama's origins, I would love to hear from you guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, peace.